Good morning. Welcome back to Our Vision Farm. I am heading to the garden right now. I have some coffee water that I've been watering our watermelon plants with lately, and I'm not sure if that has been what's made these watermelon plants produce so much, but I thought it couldn't hurt. It adds fertilizer, and what we do is just save our coffee grinds through the week, and I just add water to it and I pour it onto the plants themselves as far as I can get into the roots, at least, because the plants are so big. We have so many watermelons on the plants right now. We're just waiting for them to ripen, and I'm still continuing to water very little. You really don't want to water watermelon plants when you have big watermelons on them, but we haven't got rain in quite a while here in Maine. So I do every now and then, really just for fertilization purposes. I like to pour a little bit of this. Actually, the watermelon plants got coffee water last week, so I'm actually going to disperse this between the cantaloupes. The cantaloupes are doing really good. They're spreading out and have lots of flowers on them. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to harvest cantaloupe from these before it gets too cold. We are in Maine and it's getting a little bit cooler, especially at nighttime here now. So I'm hoping that at least a couple of fruit that it does have on here will grow and we can try them. If not, we'll plant these much earlier next year. Alright, so here is our little melon patch with the acorn squashes and even spaghetti squashes in between. Then I'm standing right in front. All these little clusters that you see here are our cantaloupes. So the biggest cantaloupe we have right now is about this size. It's still a little itty bitty baby, but this plant, I see two on here, actually three. They look like little watermelons, how they're striped, but I'm just going to pour just a little bit of this coffee water. I don't have enough to really even water all of them, but I do this several times a week once my little bowl gets full. We use like a little strainer thing to make coffee, so when I rinse that out, because I don't want it to go into our drain, into our septic system, I drain it and rinse out those right above my bowl. Plus I dump all the grinds in here as well. So this is like a little slosh of water and coffee grinds, and I just pour it into my plants. I did this with watermelons ever since we planted our watermelons, and I have a feeling that it has definitely helped. It definitely has not hurt the plants any, but I think it has helped with adding nutrients. And other than that, we have not done anything at all to the melons, just this. We have hardly even watered them, honestly. This has been the longest stretch that they have not had water, but watermelons, once you have them like this, you do not want to water them anyhow. We are going to be getting some rain in the next couple days. Finally, we're going to get some rain here in Maine. So hopefully that doesn't make our watermelons crack or anything from getting too much water when they're so close to ripening. We harvested 4 of these watermelon last week, and I'm not sure if we have any more ready, but I've been watching the tendrils to see if they dry up, and nothing seems to be ready quite yet, but we have tons of them, and they're even sweeter now. The ones that we tried last week, they are so sweet, almost like if it had sugar in them. And these are the yellow watermelon. So I'm saving seeds. I definitely want to do these again next year, and I'd also like to do more of the red varieties. This year we planted the Moon and Star as our red variety, but like I mentioned before, the Moon and Star are really just now starting to grow and hit it off. And this is a big watermelon. It's supposed to be 30 pounds plus. So it's going to be a while before this is ready. But next year I want to try orange watermelon also, because I didn't know there was even an orange watermelon variety. So that sounded cool to me. So this is our watermelon patch and the acorn squash, spaghetti squash that we had planted in between. And then we had white pumpkins here too, but we already harvested all of them and went ahead and ripped out the plant because this one was getting a little mildewy, the spaghetti squash. So we kind of ripped out the white pumpkin plant to give that more air and space. But our pumpkin plants over there too, the Gerardelle, they're pretty much done. There's like 2 pumpkins left on those plants back there. And really just waiting for everything else to finish ripening up and the plants to die off, and we're gonna pick everything and store it, continue selling it on our farm stand. But while we're here, I did a little garden cleanup at some point last week, so I'll do a little updated what we're harvesting, what we're growing here in Maine. It's about to be October, so this is really the tail end of our gardening season. We're almost done. Our cucumbers are pretty much done. All we have left is these plants that have dried, withered leaves on them. So I haven't really been harvesting cucumbers anymore. We are harvesting zucchini still. So these are all zucchinis, round zucchinis and regular zucchinis. So the round ones look like this. And then we had planted gray zucchini and a different variety. I don't remember the name, but it's kind of striped. So these are the gray zucchini. And I have to come out here and harvest this evening because we open our farm stand tomorrow, Wednesday. So I don't see any of the striped ones to show you. But next to the zucchini, we had the peaches and cream corn. I am not sure because we planted them like this, and you really want to plant corn in more closer rows for pollination, but I planted them in one single row for some reason. We didn't really plant too much corn anyway, but we planted it like this, and we're just waiting for the little hairs. This one's almost looks like it's ready to pick. I'm not sure if these have formed kernels, if they even got pollinated, but I'm waiting to see more of these dry and crispy hairs to see if we can pick some, see if they even got pollinated. We had lots of breeze and wind here in Maine, and I've been like coming and just shaking them so that the pollen comes off, and maybe with the help of bees, hopefully we got some type of pollination on these. But really it was just an experiment anyway. We weren't really growing corn to be able to sell it, just a couple for us so that we can try it and we could try our hand at growing corn here in Maine. We've grown corn in Florida before and they didn't do as well, but the plants definitely look healthier here in Maine than what we ended up getting while we were in Florida, in our years in Florida. So just an experiment. If we want to try again, we'll definitely plant it the correct way and plant them more side by side instead of a single row. In between those peaches and cream corns, we had planted green beans, which have been doing beautiful. We picked all the green beans last week, but they're still pumping out more. And these are bush beans. I don't remember the name, but I purposely got bush beans so that I wouldn't have to trellis them. We kind of just planted them in between the corn, any little empty spots. So I've gotten to the point where we've been blanching and freezing green beans in Ziploc bags to save for later on for the winter. We had peas here, which are pretty much done for. Still has some peas every now and then, but the plants themselves are drying up. And if anything, I've been letting these dry up and saving the seed pods from them. So that's what was here. This is, I think, just broccoli, like the broccoli sprouting seeds I planted, and they didn't really turn into broccolis. Next to that, we have carrots. Some of these carrots already started flowering, which I found weird because we recently planted these. These were like the last row that we planted. These were a mix of rainbow carrots and tender sweet orange carrots. So we've been getting lots of white carrots, a couple purple carrots, some yellowish ones, then mixed with the original orange ones. So that has been pretty cool. Next to carrots, we have sunflowers and zinnias, which are beautiful. They're starting to bush out and provide a lot more flowers. I'm surprised how long zinnias took to take off here in Maine, probably because they like warm weather. So it took quite a while for them to really get established and start growing lots of flowers. There's a little bee enjoying some pollen. But yeah, they ended up growing good. They just took quite a long time to actually get to this stage. And these actually were the most recent ones I planted in the ground. In the flower garden, my flowers, my zinnias that I had planted are about at this stage as well. So no matter how soon or late I planted it in the season, it took them this long to get into a full-grown size. So next to zinnias, we have mustard greens that seem to be hanging on for their dear life. They look like they're about to bolt, but they're very small. These were just something I planted to take up some empty space in the garden, so it's no big deal. We harvested lots and lots of mustard greens earlier when it was springtime. So if any of these really hit it off and get any bigger, we'll harvest as the fall continues. We have more carrots next to that and our dinosaur kale. It's been getting very heavily damaged by bugs, but we're not really harvesting this anymore. I figured that once it gets cooler, these will continue to grow because they are cold weather crops. So hopefully by the time the bugs and caterpillars are out of here because it's too cold, these will bounce back and produce some more kale that we can continue harvesting through the fall. But if not, then that is okay. We've also harvested so much kale, more than what we could ever eat ourselves. So we have eggplants next to that. They're still struggling. Eggplants are a hot weather crop and we were really just trying it out, but they've been flowering. I feel like I saw an eggplant on one of our bigger plants on that side. I'll try to look once we get there, but these plants are still pretty small and they're just now trying to flower, so I don't think they're going to produce at this point before winter arrives. We have been harvesting peppers though. We grew jalapenos, serrano, the cherry peppers, bell peppers. So all of these that I'm walking along are peppers. So the plants are small, but they've been producing pretty regular sized peppers, so that is good. And these are what the little cherry peppers look like. I'm going to wait until they turn red and try to pickle some if I have enough for pickling. We have tomatoes over here. The tomatoes are still producing, but they are pretty much done for. They have kind of collapsed over. The plants are turning brown. What's left on them is just ripening at the speed of light, and we've been picking and picking every single week. And I've made all types of products with tomatoes, and now I'm just freezing them in gallon-sized bags so that I can do something with them through the winter, continue making salsas and tomato sauce, but in the winter when I have nothing else to do. And it also helps keep the house nice and warm and cozy because I can do all my canning through the winter instead of heating up the house right now, even though it is starting to get cool. Here is some of the striped zucchini. These two plants have done so good and have produced so many zucchinis. I am surprised. Like, they're now starting to die off and get mildewy, but the amount of zucchini we've gotten just from two plants is insane. I almost regret planting the row of zucchinis over there because we've had so much just with these two plants that at this point I'm making pickled zucchini because I have our freezer full of already chopped frozen zucchini. We've eaten zucchini so many times, and now I'm pickling some to preserve it that way. Here's some more tomatoes. Next to the tomatoes is cabbages. I don't know what kind of cabbage this was. We've harvested a couple heads already. Some of them are struggling, some of them are doing good and forming their heads. So cabbage, more carrots. I don't know why we planted so many carrots. But this is another row of carrots we have not even really started digging into. We've still been harvesting from this row, which was the very first row that we planted as soon as the ground thawed. So we haven't even touched the other 3 rows of carrots we planted. But we've been selling them every week on the farm stand, and I have started also blanching them and freezing them, pickling them, all kinds of stuff. So somebody also recommended that we harvest the carrots like when winter comes, or before winter comes, harvest the carrots and store them in a tub of sand, and I can keep that in the basement or somewhere cool and dark, and they should store good through the winter, and we could have carrots through the whole winter and also in the spring and summer, because I for sure think we have enough carrots probably to last us for 2 years. We're not planting carrots next year because we have so many. These are lettuces that I let go to seed, so we're going to be harvesting the little seed pods from them because we do want to grow these next year. I'm sure tons have fallen into the ground already. We planted bunching onions to kind of fill in the spots where we had harvested lettuces. So those are doing good. I'm not sure if these are cold hardy, but they look like I can harvest from them now and they'll continue growing. Nothing over here. To the left of that we have beets. I harvested some good sized beets last week and I made pickled beets with them. So the beets are finally catching up to size and getting bigger. But these were microgreen seeds that I planted just to see what would happen. They've produced greens, they've produced beets, just very slow growing. So if you want to grow beets for actual size and for eating, you definitely want to plant a better seed stock than those that are meant for microgreens. But they will grow. These are the bigger eggplants that I have. And I feel like I saw some eggplants. They're just very hard to see because these flowered already, and I think these were white eggplants. I don't know. I might have got confused. Maybe I saw a moth on them or something, but I thought I saw a white eggplant somewhere. I'll have to search the plants, but these are our bigger plants. And then we also have onions planted on this side. Still waiting. Onions, you want to wait till this yellows more and droops down more, and that tells you that it's ready to harvest. This is where the rest of our onions are planted on this row, but then we have more onions over there. There's 2 lonely pepper plants, one there and one here. Then these were supposed to be kohlrabi. They've turned into monster-sized plants, but never did form a head. So I've just been letting them. They're really just like a pest attractant, like the bugs are attracted to them. So I just leave them here so that the bugs will leave the other stuff that I want to harvest alone. So it's been working out good for that purpose. And I mean, you can eat the leaves too. We did that a couple times, harvested the leaves and mixed them with our other greens. And you can cook them just like the other greens, like collard greens and kale. But I've just been leaving them be. And we have more onions here. They are looking beautiful and big. And hopefully they are ready. There's some more bunching onions on that side. But that's pretty much what we have here in our veggie garden. Let me go through here again. We do have collard greens here. The collard greens are doing beautiful. Remember, these are like one of the first things that we planted as soon as the ground thawed last springtime. During springtime, this and all of the green veggies and carrots were the first thing that we grew in this little garden plot, and they're still here. They're still doing good. The more I cut from them, the more they grow. I recently just stripped these plants down because they had a lot of bug damage, and they have produced lots of new leaves You can see them all growing in the middle. So that is everything we have in here. This is definitely a good, very good, better than I expected first year of gardening here in Maine. I cannot believe how much food we have harvested from this little garden. This is our biggest garden. I think maybe if I combined all my little gardens in Florida, it was probably the same size as this, but this is the biggest garden I've ever attempted just in one block like this. And we're going to continue to improve it after we are completely done for the season. Our plan is just to till everything in, even the plants that are already here that are dead. We're going to till all of that in because that'll add nutrients and nitrogen into the soil. So our plan is to just till everything over, just leave it be through the whole winter, and then next year when everything thaws out again, we're probably going to till again a couple of times before getting anything in the ground, just to kill off any weeds. I'm also going to do the planting rows to have enough spacing for our tiller machine, because that definitely made keeping control of the weeds a lot easier, being able to run through with the tiller in between the rows. So we're going to purposely plant or make our rows to the width of our tiller, so that'll cut time on having to hand pick weeds. We really would only have to hand pick weeds like around the base of the plants and not on the rows, because we can just take care of that with the tiller. Other than the vegetable garden, we have our honeyberries, which we have also not watered ever since we put them in the ground. They have been doing really good and have given us a lot of new growth. We have lost a couple of them have kind of crisped up and died, but I don't think it's because of the underwatering. I think they just died because the ones that are flourishing and doing nicely we have not watered. So I think also some of them are probably starting to go into dormant. Like these, I can tell the leaves are starting to get darker. So all of this is going to go into dormant soon, but we've had lots of new growth from our honeyberries, and we haven't done much. As you can see, I am mulching with dried grass clippings now to kind of help with the weeds. And then these plants don't need protection in the winter, but I figured it can't hurt to just cover the ground a little bit with grass clippings, and then that'll make weed control a little bit better next spring when everything starts growing back. And we'll continue layering this with grass clippings too, and that'll kind of be like our mulching. So I'm working on finishing this row with grass and that one. I've done that row over there completely, but different varieties have given us different levels of growth. I would say this is the best one to show you because they're like taller. They're less of a bushier plant and they're taller. So that is how much new growth we've gotten from those. Remember when we got these in the mail, they were just little brown twigs. So it's pretty exciting to see them grow into little plants already. And our cherry trees, the same thing. Carmine jewel cherries have given us so much new growth since we got them into the ground. So let me head over there and show you that before we head to the flower garden. Alright, Carmine jewel cherries. This is what they look like. Beautiful and bushing out. These will also go into dormancy and grow back in the spring, hopefully. They are very, very cold hardy. I forgot the negative temperatures they can withstand, but it's way lower than what we get here, despite being in northern Maine. So all of our plants are doing good. We only lost one this season from the ones we planted, and the rest are doing just like this. So that is our Carmine jewel, and we plan to continue this row all the way to the end to where our forest line starts over there. So I'm not sure if I'm buying more or just going to take cuttings from these eventually and continue our row. So that's our plan for those. And then behind me is our flower garden jungle. Our cucumbers that were growing here have all died off, so I pulled those out and just adding some compost and food scraps to kind of just add more nutrients in here. That'll compost in and act as fertilizer for one we get ready to plant next year in this spot. I'm thinking of planting a small, like a mini variety of watermelon so it can climb all over this old rake, similar to how we did the cucumbers this year, but I haven't decided yet because this is a good area for things to climb on, but they also say you don't want to plant similar plants in the same spot every year. So haven't decided exactly what I'm planting here, but I was thinking mini watermelons would be cute. Flower garden, it's just looking crazy. Such a transformation from where we began. You can hardly see the boxes and everything is just so overgrown. We have the nasturtiums, they are humongous. Sunflowers are starting to die off, but they're still here. They're still flowering. They look beautiful, especially now in the fall time. This is butternut squash, a volunteer plant. And I've been trying to prune them, but you can see they keep throwing out new shoots. And at this point, we're close enough to winter coming. You can't even see a rhubarb anymore because the butternut squash have taken over. We're so close to winter. I'm really just letting the ones that are growing on there get ripe before we harvest. And then winter should take care of killing all of this. Nasturtiums. And then these are our kiwi berries. Also doing good and also very cold hardy, so I don't have to worry about these for the winter time. My camera's about to die, so let me just run through the flower garden real quick as a last shot of everything we have growing in here. Look at that humongous sunflower up here. That has some huge seeds on it. I'm going to harvest if the birds don't get to it first. This was our biggest pumpkin yet. We pruned this plant. It was a volunteer plant. I pruned it so that only this one pumpkin would grow. And just look how big it is. It's just now starting to get orange, so I'm going to wait till it fully gets orange and harvest it. And maybe it'll be our fall decor pumpkin. But we've been selling a lot of our pumpkins too, so maybe I'll offer it up on the shop. Who knows? And then here I'm just adding more compost to our boxes. We have a compost box too. But I figured this will all turn into nice nutrient-filled soil for next season. So I'm throwing it straight into the boxes. Beautiful, beautiful flowers. And then, like I was telling you, the zinnias are just now really starting to pop off and grow like this. Took them so long, but we have been harvesting zinnias even when they were smaller plants. This was our wildflower box. Still has some wildflowers hanging on, but they are slowly dying off. And we have these tomatoes in here that have been doing really good too. The little yellow cherry tomatoes. They look like that and they're sweet as honey. They're really good. I got these tomatoes from the Amish. And we planted the seeds and they have grown so nice. So I'm saving seeds from these two to continue growing them next year. But like, it has so many green ones still. It's crazy how well the tomatoes did for us this year. So look at our flower garden. Everything on this side has pretty much started dying off. This is the area where we had our orange pumpkins. We finished harvesting them and pulled all the plants out. So that is it. That is everything we are growing here on our property for this year. You saw our veggie garden, flower garden, and all of the fruit trees, fruit plants that we got into the ground this year. Everything has done great. And we're looking forward to getting more to plant next season as well and just keep adding on to it. I hope you guys enjoyed our little garden tour and seeing an update of what we're growing and harvesting right now. End of September, beginning of October in Maine, Zone 5A. We're looking forward to enjoying cooler weather, and then winter will be here before we know it. We actually have a family coming this week for a 3-night stay in our RV spot, so that has went pretty well this year as well. We got to meet lots of families and be able to host them here on our property. So the RV spot is right here. They get this beautiful view of the field, and it's so quiet and peaceful out here. I'm looking forward to hosting them this week. So, good first season here in Maine. Great first year here in Maine. We look forward to many, many more. I look forward to this being just our forever home and growing old here and passing down the property to our kids as well. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you very soon in the next one.